Hey there! In this video, I'm going to discuss best practices when working with listeners, joining channels, and managing your connection. So, this is the thing. You should have a good understanding of how components and pages state work, in the sense that, for example, pages get ditched or disposed at some point. Components could be disposed as well. So when you set a listener to interact with that specific component or page you're at the moment, in the future that component or page may cease to exist. And if you don't remove those listeners, you may encounter some weird errors or maybe breaking or stuff that will break your application at some point. So let me show you what I mean. Let's join to the channel, private channel in here, and let's do the same here. Join. We can check our network connection. We join properly. So let's actually, I think this is the one we're using. Well, I don't remember. Doesn't matter. So let me open the chat in here, and let me open the chat in here. Cool. So let me clear this and let me clear this. I don't remember which one we were using, so let me clear both. If I send a message, hey, I can see the message in the list. That's cool. I can see the message here, and I can see this is the active channel right now. Cool. But let's say I'm going to reply and this user decides to close this. If I close this, basically what I did is that I disposed or closed the component entirely, so it ceased to exist. It doesn't exist anymore. So when I send a message, actually let me navigate to the console. When I send a message like hello and send the message, I will see this error in my console, exception count. And if we take a look, this thing here, looking up at the activated widget ancestors to save, that basically means that we are trying to interact with something that doesn't exist anymore or is deactivated. So how do we handle this kind of situations to avoid errors in the future? Well, there's this nice feature called remove listener, and the tricky thing is when do we want to call it. In this use case in specific, what we are going to do is that we're going to add this event of on this pose. This means that at the moment that this component gets removed, deleted, or closed, I want to trigger this sequence of actions. Specifically, we're going to the custom actions, Xano Realtime data actions, and then we're going to select remove WebSocket listeners. And this only expects two parameters. The first one is the connection hash, and the second one, we have to use the same listener key as we used to add the listener at the beginning. So let me copy this, and let me paste it in here. Cool. So let me close this now. And if I go back to the demo pages and I clear my console here, I clear my console here, and I proceed to connect again. Let me connect, private channel, let me copy this, join, let me open the chat, same here, join the channel, cool. Private channel, cool. So let's clear this both consoles. Let's say something like hello, and I then close this thing. This the widget was already closed, so the component ceased to exist. This was disposed, and the onDispose function should have triggered by now. So let me reply to this. Hey, let me send a message. Oh, we can't see the error anymore. That's because we removed the listener, so it isn't trying to interact any longer with the component that doesn't exist. So keep this in mind when you add listeners that interact with your page or your components. To better understand this, let's draw something here in Miro. So it will be useful for us to understand what's going on here. First, let's draw the screen. I mean, not the screen, the app level. Then we will draw a page. And then let's draw a component. And let me add text here. Component. Cool. Awesome. So we have the app level, page level, component level. So every time when your application is open and working, it's safe to work with states that you create here. Like app states are safe to work with. You shouldn't encounter any issue with them at any point because they are like global variables that will be always available for you. So this area is safe. But what happens when we go navigate to a page? When we navigate to a page, we are creating an instance of that page. But if we navigate away without the possibility of navigating back, and navigating back I mean like going back, not navigating once again to the page. I will show you in FlutterFlow what I mean in a second. Then there's a risk that if you interact with components or even widgets or states of that page, it will be dangerous because if you don't remove the listeners, you will start seeing these errors. So let's discuss when a page gets disposed and when a component gets disposed. If I go back to my application, to my FlutterFlow application actually, let's say that I want to add a button here, add a button. And when I tap this button, what it will do is that it will navigate to another page. This one, for example. And we have to pass here a parameter which I previously configured, page state connection hash. Okay. So if we allow back navigation, this page won't be disposed. It will continue to exist for the time being. But if we toggle this off, then this page will get disposed. So any listener that is attached to or is interacting directly with components or states of that page should be immediately removed. That's where the page level and component level on dispose actions or triggers are very useful because you can detect when they get disposed and remove the listeners that interact directly with that page or that component specific. So when we are in Miro, getting back to here to Miro, you should be aware of what you're doing with a listener at the page level and component level. And if you are doing some sort of direct interaction with any of those, you should add and remove listener at the on this pause trigger of each page or the respective page and component. So that's the first thing you have to keep in mind. Now let's take a look at what else we can do to maintain a healthy connection. So as you may remember, if we go back to the first page and to the connect action, we did a series of configurations here to keep the connection alive and avoid having downtimes or stuff. But there will be moments that errors will occur or something happens, your user lose connection, and handling those cases is not a trivial task. That's why many of these pre-configured actions are very useful for you to reduce the amount of cases you have to handle by yourself. But still, we need to give you some flexibility. I need to give you some flexibility to deal with certain specific situations where you would like to reconnect, but not join to all the channels you were joining previously. So that's when this on reconnection action comes handy, because when you lose connection and you reconnect through this check connection sporadically functionality, you can actually handle the joining back to the channels one more time using this callback. And why is that? Why do we need to join again to the channels? Well, basically because when we lose connection, a new connection will be established, but it's different from the previous one. So you have to keep that in mind, because even though if I reconnect, I won't be joining automatically to the channels I joined before. So I will have to either handle that manually, or set maybe a function you can reuse to rejoin all of these action. I mean, all of these channels automatically. So let's build some logic to allow you to reconnect to specific channels. So first thing first, let's go back to the editor, and here what we're going to do is we're going to dive into this on reconnection action. Let's say, for example, that I want to add an action, or actually add a conditional to first check if this action parameter channels joined before closure list contains an item, and the item I want to check is actually let me do a quick trick here. Let me return a call expression. Return, and what I want to return is public channel. I will want to reconnect to the public channel, only the public channel, if I was connected before. So if the previous list of joint connection channels contains the public channel, then I'm going to attempt to join the channel again. For that, we are going to reuse our WebSocket or real-time action to join a WebSocket channel. We can pass it the page parameter, page state, connection hash, and the channel name will be, well, public channel, right? Join confirmation duration, and here we are going to use 250, and that's it. For now, we're going to leave it as it is. Where's into error arguments? Oh yeah, I have to set this, otherwise false. Okay, cool. So when I connect and I lose connection and I reconnect, this callback will be triggered, and I will be able to rejoin that channel in specific. So let's see the errors I'm receiving. They should be fixed by now, so it should disappear by itself at some point. There it is. So let's go to the next page and actually edit this button, so we don't navigate away, but rather we just replace this by custom action, Xano Realtime data, and close WebSocket connection. And to this we only have to pass the page state, the connection hash, and if I have the check connection sporadically thing, it will attempt to reconnect. But if you remember, there's a filter here we're using that it ignores specific closure close codes, and in this case it is ignoring the normal closure, which is the one received when you close the connection manually. So let's change this to any other, just to unknown, for example. Let's set it to unknown. Now when it reconnects, when it detects that it's closed, and the reason is the manual closing thing, it will trigger this callback. So let's give this a try. And actually, to better visualize this, I'm going to also turn off the keep alive connection thing, so we avoid seeing a lot of messages. So I'm going to instant reload this. I'm going to refresh the page as well. Let me connect. Cool, I see here. I'm going to add the public channel, join. And now what I'm going to do actually is that I'm going to close the connection button. So I close the connection and it reconnect. And this is the new connection, and it sends the join channel thing. Let's see what happens if I join to the private channel as well. So now I have these two. I'm going to close the connection and it should only reconnect to the public channel. So let's stop it. Let's wait for it to reconnect. Aha. And it just joined the public channel. So that way you can handle manually that kind of logic, or you have the freedom to do whatever you want. Maybe you will have always one single channel that should always be open, or you should always be in. So you can use that to that's a callback function to rejoin that channel and reconnection. But I'm giving you the freedom to decide what to do when the connection is lost and you get reconnected. My suggestion is that if you are going to handle this logic manually, like the things you are going to reconnect and everything, you run several tests, try to turn off internet, try to do different stuff, and try to break your application as much as possible, because it's very easy to ignore certain specific use cases. But this library comes handy because it already allows you to handle most of the common cases in one configuration. So play with this, test it as much as you can, and again, try to understand a lot about the states of the different components and pages and things. Where are the different series of events that happens, initialization, disposal, that kind of things. So you can create logic that makes your WebSocket connection more reliable. Thank you, and enjoy the library. Thanks.